here today to do a full collection tour, a tour of all of my manga, all of my shelves one by one, and I'm kind of excited to go through all of my manga. The last full collection tour that I did was last year in February 2023, and that was at my 1-year anniversary, and now February 2024, it's my 2-year anniversary on MangaTube, so wanted to mark the occasion by doing a full collection tour, and then I can just go through everything and in the future look back and see what I had at 1 year, what I had at 2 years, and be able to share it with you guys as well. But my collection now is these 5 bookcases. I do have several shelves where I just have spread things out, so I could just squish things together more and make it fit on less shelves. But this is how I want things to be. I love having my prints on display and my merch items, so really happy with where my collection is right now and how I have everything set up and displayed. But I think I'm going to go ahead and start down in this corner, go through some of my high school set series, and work my way up into some of the mature romances. And then I'll head over to these 2 shelves that have my action series, my sports series, and then the whole one shelf full of One Piece and my art books down below. I will have timestamps down below, so feel free to use those to skip around to whatever you're interested in watching, and I hope you enjoy watching. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so starting with this shelf here, I have a couple high school romance series that I really love. So Kimi Todoke along the back, and then a couple pieces of art, official art for the series. Over here I have some fan-made enamel pins of the 2 main characters. And over on this side I have 3 of the extras, a booklet, and then the fan book and guidebook for Kimi Todoke. So Kimi Todoke is a shoujo series, high school romance. It follows these 2 right here, a popular boy and a girl who is misunderstood by her classmates, but she is such a sweetheart. I really love this series. It is complete at 30 volumes. And it has a 3-volume spin-off series called Kimi Todoke Soulmate that is going to be releasing this year in 2024, and I'm really excited for it. Next, over in the corner, I have A Condition Called Love. I believe I have volumes 1 to 6 right now, and it is an ongoing series. It too is a shoujo high school romance series that follows a boy who really wants to be in a romantic relationship and just has a lot of strong feelings, and then a girl who has never been in a relationship before as they start to spend time together, and we see how their relationship blossoms and develops. It is so cute and sweet. I really, really like that one. And then in front here, I have this seinen high school romance series. Tomo-chan is a girl. Maybe the name sounds familiar if it's not one that you've read before. KK-chan is a girl. I took my name for my YouTube channel from this series. It is one that I really like a lot. And then I have Tomo's Nendoroid over here. Really hoping that June gets a Nendoroid so I can put them together. But this is a series that follows 2 childhood friends as they are now in high school, and she has developed strong feelings for her childhood friend. But because they've grown up together and done a lot of sports together, she is a bit of a tomboy. He just views her as one of the guys. So in these volumes, she's trying to express her feelings to him and make him understand that she has romantic feelings for him. Okay, and moving down, this next shelf has a lot of favorites as well. These are all series by one mangaka, Mika Yamamori. One of my favorite series is this one right here, Tsubaki-chou Lonely Planet. It's an ongoing shoujo romance series. I don't consider it to be high school set because most of the series is not set in high school and only one of the 2 main characters is in high school. But it does have an age gap romance. It follows a high school girl who has to take on work as a live-in housekeeper when her father is moving away to find work to pay off his debts. But so the main character, Fumi, moves in with a historical novelist, and they find out that they have certain things in common, and we get to see as they bond with each other and the relationship that develops between them. Underneath this series, I have 2 magazines that have Mika Yamamori covers. So this bottom one is the final issue of the Margaret that has an original character that Sensei drew, and then the second one has Yoi from In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, and I really wanted to get that one just because I thought the cover was beautiful. I have been tempted to collect more of the manga issues that have Mika Yamamori's art on them, but she has so many, so it's a bit overwhelming, and I don't know if I'm going to go down that path. But then another series, In the Clear Moonlit Dusk. This is another shoujo high school romance series. It's ongoing. I currently have 6 volumes, and I'm always looking forward to getting the next volume. I really enjoy this series. It follows 2 high schoolers that are a year apart in school, and they're both known in the school as princes. Yoi because of her chivalrous personality and boldness, and then Kohaku because of his family's financial status. But then this pairing is a bit of a playboy guy with a girl who is very sweet and inexperienced in romance, but really love this series and highly recommend it. Over here I have Daytime Shooting Star volumes 1 to 12. This is a completed series. In Japan, there's a volume 13, and we did not get that one printed in English by Viz Media, so I have it in Japanese. But this series follows these 3 main characters, 2 high schoolers, and one of their teachers. There is an age gap romance, and there is a love triangle that continues through most of the series. And this is one that I do like a lot. Also, just with the manga, I love how colorful all these spines are. They're so pretty. I love seeing them on my shelves. And then tucked behind this volume, I have a few extra little booklets. I'm not going to go through them all, but these 3 here and this 4th one are all illustration books for Fruits Basket. And then to the left, there is a Chihayafuru booklet that came with one of the special edition releases. Here at the end is A Sign of Affection, another special booklet that was released with a special edition volume. These 2 over here are from A Condition Called Love. Again, 2 booklets released with special editions, a fan book, and then a special booklet. And then moving across. On this shelf, I have 4 shoujo romance series. So first I have Rainbow Days, volumes 1 to 8. This, in English, is an ongoing series, but it is complete in Japan at 16 volumes. It follows a group of 4 high school boys as they're going through high school. There are a lot of slice of life elements and coming of age, but all 4 of them have different love interests that through the series they're trying to pursue. All 4 of the boys have very different personalities, so we get to see how they interact with each other and how they're able to maintain a friendship when they're all so different. I have a postcard illustration print here from the series Orange. I don't own this series in my collection. I do really love the anime. I really hated the omnibus volumes, how they looked. So I was certain I was never going to pick up this series, but now with the box set release, I may pick it up in the future. But this is my favorite color illustration from the series, and it was a print that was gifted to me, so I've got it up here on display. Next, I have Haru Ride, 13 volumes, and this is a completed series. This is the only work by Yosaki Saka that I have in my collection, and my favorite work of hers. This one follows 2 high schoolers as they re-encounter after having been separated when they were in middle school. And when the boy returns, he's a completely different person than what the female lead remembered from the time that they had spent together in middle school. But this series has a lot of drama in it. I really like it though. There are some love triangles here and there, but I feel like it's a really well-written story. It also has some content regarding dealing with trauma and grief. So there are some dark elements in addition to just the teenage angst. Moving on, I have Sand Chronicles. I'm slowly making my way to collect this series. A lot of these volumes are out of stock at retailers, so I've been trying to find them secondhand where I can. But this is another shoujo series. This one follows a young girl that, young in her life, has a really traumatic experience that really impacts her through the rest of her life. A lot of the story is about her mental health and how she's tried to manage her grief, but it follows her from a young age all the way through school and then into adulthood. I was really surprised when I read it for the first time because I thought it was going to be entirely in high school, but at the halfway point, she's already an adult. But again, just make sure to check the trigger warnings for this series before getting into it. But Sand Chronicles is completed at 10 volumes. Next is Dengeki Daisy, another completed series at 16 volumes. I have been trying to collect this. This one too has a lot of out-of-stock volumes, so I've been trying to find secondhand listings that are not scalper prices, and I'm gradually making my way through the series, finding the missing volumes. This is a shoujo series that has romance, has comedy, has tragedy. It has a little bit of everything, some action, mystery. I really enjoyed my read of it last year, and I'm really excited for when I complete the series to do a full read through, and then my husband is looking forward to reading it as well. This one does have an age gap romance, as well as some triggering content around the tragedy elements of the story, so definitely check the trigger warnings if you think that might be an issue for you. All right, and then moving down to the next shelf. Okay, on this shelf I have 3 more series. So first, over on this side, My Little Monster, which is a shoujo high school romance series. It follows a girl who is really determined to be the top of her class. She's very focused on her studies and her future. And right from the start in Volume 1, she becomes entangled with a delinquent who becomes quite attached to her. But I really enjoyed my read of this series. I had watched the anime before I read it, and I had been really eager to see how the story continued after the content in the anime. And I really love that Kodansha printed this volume 13 that included a lot of extra bonus content. As the series ends in volume 12, but volume 13 has some additional side stories and bonus content. Next is a shonen comedy series, Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. This one follows a girl who has a crush on her classmate, and when she goes to confess her feelings to him, he misunderstands and thinks that she's complimenting his work as a mangaka, as he has a shoujo series that is serializing. But this is a series that I actually have not read yet, despite having all these volumes. I absolutely love the anime series for this one. It is so funny. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And I am pretty confident that I'm going to love the manga because of how much I enjoy the anime. So I'm really looking forward to when I actually sit down and get into this series. I forgot to mention this acrylic standee over here. It is a character from Fate Grand Order. I don't know anything about him, anything about that game series, but my husband was making an order from an event that included this series, and I loved the design of this character and this official art, so I just went ahead and got it. And then over here on this side of the shelf is an ongoing seinen series, My Dress-Up Darling, and I have volumes 1 to 10. At the top is a little special illustration book that came with a special edition volume, and then the white booklet on top is actually one that was included with a Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun special edition. But I really love this series. My Dress-Up Darling is a high school set series that follows 2 classmates who are very different. One, a girl who is very outgoing and popular, and then a boy who is very introverted, quiet and shy. But they find out each other's shared hobbies and passions. He has the dream to become a Hina doll maker and loves to sew, and she really loves cosplay. And so it follows their adventure together as he starts making cosplay outfits for her. But it's very funny. I really love both of the main characters. Gojo is such a sweetheart, and Marin is just the sweetest girl, very kind. As the story has gone, there has been a bit of romance starting to happen, and I'm really hoping that we get to see that romance be fulfilled, because I really love these kids, and their relationship as friends and their journey together has been really sweet. And of course, Marin's Nendoroid. I'm really happy Gojo just got an announcement for a Nendoroid for him, so definitely going to get that one so we can put them together on the shelf. And then moving across to the next shelf. Over here I have 2 manga series plus 1 more series that I have some merch for. So first, over here is Oto Tomare. I love this series. This is my second favorite series after Wotakoi. I don't consider this to be a high school romance series. It's more of a club series, and it's very heavily about music. It follows high schoolers in a koto club. But as the series goes, there is romance that develops, and I just love every bit of this series. It is ongoing at 30 volumes, and it does not yet have an English release. I'm really hoping it will get picked up soon. But I always am recommending the anime. The anime is really good, and since it is about music, it's really beautiful to be able to hear what the koto sounds like. I do have some official art prints as well as some merch, I would say, but those are actual bridges for the koto that I bought at an instrument store when I was in Japan. And then up here in this little box, also when I was in Japan at a koto store, I bought plectrums, which is the nail picks that they wear on their fingers when they're playing koto. So I was really happy to get those little items to add to my Oto Tomare section of my shelf. And then back behind here, Another music series, Your Lie in April. I don't own the manga for this series. I absolutely love the anime adaptation though. So these two little things right here are magnetic bookmarks of the two main characters. And then I have Kaori's Nendoroid. I really hope that Kosei will get a Nendoroid as well. And I will absolutely pick it up so that I can have them together. I love the idea of having little pairs together, but a lot of my Nendoroids just have one of the characters and not the second, so I'm hopeful that there will be more releases. We'll see. And then back behind her is a fan art print from Your Lie in April. And then underneath her, I have the 5 3-in-1 omnibuses of High School Debut. This one is a completed series at 15 volumes, collected into 5 omnibus volumes. And it is a shoujo high school romance series that has a lot of comedy. It's really funny. It's been years since I read it, so I'm really looking forward to doing a reread soon. But it follows a girl who really wants to have a boyfriend, and she's the sweetest girl, but up until she got into high school, she was very focused on sports, and as a result does not have a good fashion sense. So she asks a popular boy if he will mentor her in fashion and talking to boys so that she can find herself a boyfriend. But it is very funny, and I'm really excited to reread it soon. Okay, moving down another shelf. Okay, down here I have my Fruits Basket collection. Omnibus volumes 1 to 12, which contains volumes 1 to 23. So these are 2-in-1 omnibus volumes, plus some bonus content in volume 12. So this is a drama shoujo series. While it does have a lot of content at school, and I do consider this a high school romance, it does have a lot of family drama and content with adult characters. There are supernatural elements, but basically a very simple premise, if you're not familiar with Fruits Basket, is that a high school girl becomes an orphan and becomes entangled with a very complicated, large family, and they really change her life, and she has a huge impact on their lives as well. But I really, really love this anime, and I read Fruits Basket, the manga, for the first time last year and just really loved it. Along the top here, I have enamel pins of some of my favorite characters, and I'm going to have to plan a reread soon. I'm really eager for my husband to read it because he also loves the anime and has not yet read the manga, so we'll be looking forward to that. And then over here, I have this Spirited Away fan art. I'll pull it out of the way so I can go through these ones. So I have these 3 omnibus volumes, 2-in-1 omnibus volumes for Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, Rascal Does Not Dream of Petite Devil Kohai, Rascal Does Not Dream of A Logical Witch. So each of these manga volumes are adaptations from the light novel, and it is ongoing. The light novel has many more volumes than this, and in Japan, this 3rd omnibus volume was just released as singles, so Yen Press has been getting these translated pretty fast, so we're just waiting for the Japanese releases for more English omnibuses to be released. But this one too, it starts out kind of like a high school romance with supernatural elements, but then there is a bit of mystery and sci-fi as well. I would say it's more like sci-fi than supernatural, but it follows a high school boy and his relationship with this girl in volume 1, and then as the series continues, his relationships with other female classmates as he finds strange situations that they're in and tries to help them. But it is a seinen series that I really enjoy. I loved the anime. I haven't actually read through any of these yet, so I will be looking forward to that. Next, I have volume 1 of March Comes In Like a Lion, which is a seinen series that follows a high schooler who is a pro shogi player. I really like the anime, and I've been really excited about the English release of this series, but unfortunately, with volume 1 and now with volume 2, it's just been delay after delay after delay for the release. And I feel like that's going to really negatively impact the sales of this series, because I've already heard a lot of people saying they don't want to collect volume 2 and 3 because then who knows how long until the next one will come out. But I'm really hoping that this publisher will follow through and get on a more consistent release schedule. This volume itself is really nice, so I am looking forward to reading it. I haven't read it yet because I was going to wait until volume 2 came out so I could read them straight through. But volume 2 just keeps getting delayed now, so hopefully that will get released soon and I'll be looking forward to reading them. Next on the shelf, actually the rest of this section here is art books. So I have the new art book for Veil that just came out with the Volume 6 Special Edition. I'm really looking forward to the English omnibus release of Veil later this year, hopefully. I'm not sure if it'll release in 2024. Hopefully before the end of the year we'll get the first omnibus volume, but we'll see. But Veil is a series that is in full color, and it follows the relationship between a blind woman and a police officer. I don't remember what decade it is set in, but in the early or mid 1900s. But I really love the art style, and I'm looking forward to the English release. Next, I have 2 art books that are not based on a series, but just art of Tokyo. So one is called Tokyo at Night, and one is called Tokyo Storefronts. Just really gorgeous illustrations. Then next, I have an art booklet and a score book for Kon Oto Tomare. So the score has the sheet music for some of the koto pieces that are played in the series in the anime. But really happy to have both of those pieces in my collection. Next is the art book for Sand Chronicles. And then next is the art book for Kimi Todoke. Both really gorgeous art books. I'm really happy that I was able to find both of them. Next is My Happy Marriage. I do have the art book in Japanese because I picked it up before the English announcement. And I think I'll be content with just keeping my Japanese art book. But I'm really glad that it's going to have an English release so that it'll be more readily available for anyone who does not want to order from Japan. And then this next one is the anime guidebook for Her Blue Sky, which is a series that I really like. It does have a 4-volume manga series, but I prefer the anime movie, and I really love it. I've watched it so many times, and I'm always recommending it, Her Blue Sky. Then this next art book is called Salarymen. It too is not based on a specific manga series, but the mangaka who did this art book has a couple workplace romance series that are currently serializing, and I really love their art style. And then lastly on this shelf, I have an issue of Lala that was gifted to me. The cover of it has art for Gakuan babysitters. And I know that series has an anime adaptation as well as a manga series that isn't licensed in English yet. And it's been on my list for a while to get around to reading, and one of these days I'll get to it. Okay, and then next on this shelf, I do have a couple Nendoroid boxes just tucked in here to help keep the books held up. And this section here is usually covered by a framed Sanji illustration. But on this side here, I have a few Japanese books. So these first 2 here are from Lovely Complex, the fan book and the illustration book. And then I have volume 16 of Rainbow Days. So even though this is getting printed currently in English, I ordered this volume 16 before I knew it was getting an English print release because it was my favorite cover and it was a series that I did like a lot. So still just hanging on to this one until the English print release gets a little further in. These next 2 are a fan book and a comic anthology for Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. And then these last items here, I have 3 doujinshi for the series A3, and then 2 comic anthologies for A3. So A3 is a series about acting. I love the anime series, and so when I found the comic anthologies, I was really excited to get them, even though they're in Japanese. I have recently found out that in addition to the Japanese light novels for A3, there are a few more shorter manga series that follow the different theater troupes. So I do still need to do some research into that to see if that's something that I would like to collect as well. Then moving across, I have 3 more serious kind of drama series with some mystery. All 3 of them have main characters that are elementary schoolers, and all 3 of them are really moving emotionally. The first one here is The God's Lie, which is just a 1-volume one-shot, but it follows an elementary school boy who starts to notice some strange things about his classmate and then befriends her and becomes a little entangled with things that are going on in her life. A really moving story though. There's a big twist halfway through the story, and since it's a one-shot, it is a pretty quick read as well. Next is the series My Boy, 9 volumes and it is completed. I really like this one. It's about a young woman who is having some disappointing things going on in her life, is kind of dissatisfied with how things are going with work and with her personal life. But then she meets a young boy in elementary school who seems to be mistreated at home, and she notices one day in a park that it looks like he's about to be abducted. So she steps in and forms a bond with this boy, and the series continues as it goes on, as the boy is growing up and the relationship between them. But I really like this one. The first time I read it, I felt so anxious as I was reading because I wasn't sure how things were going to go, as well as dreading the reactions of people as things were revealed. But I really love this one. And then the next one is another 9-volume series. It has in English 4 2-in-1 omnibus volumes and then the 5th volume. If I remember correctly, the first 8 volumes are the main story, and then volume 5 is bonus content, which I really loved. This series does have an anime adaptation that I really like as well, but the end of the anime is not the same as the end of the manga, so I highly recommend the manga if it is one even that you have watched the anime. But this one has supernatural elements of time travel. There are mystery and crime elements. The antagonist in this series is someone who abducts children, so there are definitely some dark themes. But it is such an engaging series and really suspenseful. And then over at the end of my shelf, all of those thinner booklets, all of these over here are my Yuri on Ice and Haikyuu doujinshi. For now, I'm just keeping them here on this bottom shelf, but I'd like to find a different place for them. But I don't have room for the Haikyuu books on my Haikyuu shelf because these are larger books. But I at least wanted to keep together all of my sport fan books. So in addition to doujinshi fan books, I also have some fanzines. Okay, so next we're going to move up my shelf and I'll go through some of my adventure shoujo series and then my adult romance series. Okay, this next shelf has 2 shoujo adventure series that are both historical. So this first one here is Laughing Under the Clouds, volumes 1 to 6. This is a completed series with 6 volumes, and then this series also has a 3-volume spin-off, as well as a one-shot spin-off, a one-shot prequel, and then a 14-volume prequel. All of those not being licensed in English yet, so far for this series, this is all we have in English. I really love this series though. It follows 3 brothers who live at a temple and are tasked with protecting a village and also transporting prisoners to a nearby prison. But the series is so good. I enjoyed it so much. It's so emotionally moving. There are little bits of romance in it, but it is not a romance series. And there are some dark themes throughout with some violent content as well. But it is a shoujo series and it is rated teen. But I highly recommend this one. When I read through it the first time, I was laughing so much through different sections of it. And then there was one section I got to that just made me cry. And I was crying for over an hour, just like I could not stop. But really love it. And I really hope that some of the either sequel or prequel content will be licensed in English for us as well. And then everything else on the shelf is from Snow White with the Red Hair. So I have the manga in the back. This is a historical adventure series that follows this main girl who wants to become an herbalist, and throughout the whole story is just a very strong female lead, following her goals, continuing to have character development throughout. It does have a really sweet romance between her and this character over here, who's from a neighboring kingdom, and throughout the story has his own character development too. I really love the adventure elements in this series and how they relate to the characters trying to grow as people. And even though there is a bit of action here and there and some battle scenes, I find this story really wholesome and it's just a very feel-good series for me. So in addition to the manga volumes, I have framed here the special edition dust jacket from the Japanese volume. I have these 2 acrylic charms, some fan art, this one over here, as well as this red one on this side, are official illustrations that I got when I bought one of the magazine issues. Right here is a fan-made enamel pin of one of the illustrations in the art book. And then back behind here is the exhibition art book. I'm so glad I was able to get a copy secondhand from someone who went to the exhibition in Japan and was selling a copy, because after the exhibition, they did not hold a separate sale for the merch that was available at the exhibition. And then on this side over here, I have the Snow White with the Red Hair fan book, the hardcover art book that came with one of the special edition releases. And then this red one right here is a pack of print cards of each of the different volume covers. All right, and then moving up my shelf. Okay, this shelf here is entirely Yona of the Dawn, another shoujo adventure series, but with more action and a bit of slow burn romance as well. Looking at my display, you can probably guess who my favorite character is. I love Shin-ah. So in addition to the manga volumes that I have a bit of fan art that I've picked up. This is some of the drawings of Shin-ah that my husband did for me. More fan art. There are 2 fan enamel pins that I have, plus these ones up here of Hawk and Yona, and then there's one more chibi pin up here on top of the magazine issue. Back behind this print is the fan book for Yona of the Dawn. I hope so much that that will get released in English by Viz Media, because there is so much text and so many character bios and little bonus panels and little bonus chapters that I would love to have in English and be able to read. But until that happens, I have the Japanese volume and I just enjoy flipping through it periodically. Over here, I have this art book that was released with a Japanese special edition. I do have the newest exhibition art book on the way to me. I'm so excited to get it. It looks so nice, and I've seen other people do flip throughs, and it just looks like a really gorgeous book, and I can't wait. And then over on this side, I have one issue of Hanato Yume, which is the magazine that Yona of the Dawn is serialized in. It has Hawk and Yona on the cover and a drama CD. And then over on this side, I have a few booklets, I believe 3 booklets, that just contain bonus illustrations and bonus little comics. And I'm not sure yet because I haven't seen every page of the new art book, but I do know for sure that this art book and these booklets, some of the art in those is in the new art book. But I'm not sure if it 100% covers it, so I will be checking once I do get my art book. But anyways, back to the series. It follows a girl who is the princess of a kingdom. She's very spoiled and is a bit of a brat, and in the first volume of the series, there is a coup and she's forced to flee the kingdom with her bodyguard. And then the entire rest of the series is their journey together as they meet different people, including the 4 dragon warriors. So absolutely love this series. It is my favorite shoujo series, and I'm always highly recommending it. Even though there is romance in the series, that is not the main point in the story. The main themes that I see in this series are found family while dealing with political issues of the times as they're going on an adventure and trying to solve little mysteries of why things are happening in different parts of the kingdom. But again, just absolutely love this series and highly recommend it. And then moving up to the next shelf. All right, so starting on this shelf, and then I'll work my way across the bookcases, are my more mature romances. So university romance between adult characters, and then some of my spicy books as well. So starting from this side over here, I have an ongoing Japanese series. It doesn't have an English print release yet, but it's one of my favorite spicy josei series. It's called Shoujo-kan, and it follows 2 newlyweds as they've hit the first-year anniversary after being married, and while they enjoy each other's company and are happy with their marriage, they have not had any physical intimacy. And so the series follows them as they're trying to take that next step in their marriage and have some intimate moments together, as well as learning together as they go. So it's very sweet, and even though it is spicy, it is very wholesome as well. And then I have another Japanese volume. It's only volume 1. Volume 2 hasn't been released yet in Japan, and this one also does not have an English license, but it also is a spicy josei series that follows an office worker as she has a romantic encounter at a bar with someone and then finds out the next day that they're going to be working together. But I really love the art style, and this is one too that I hope will get picked up by an English publisher. The next series is The Savior's Book Cafe Story in Another World. I have volumes 1 through 5, missing volume 2. It is completed at 5 volumes, and I just haven't gotten volume 2 yet because in person. I bought these in person, and the only volume 2s that I found were printed on white paper, whereas these other volumes were printed on off-white, like eggshell paper, and I was really hoping that I could find a volume 2 that matched. And I haven't ordered a copy online because I feel like a white paper copy will be sent to me. So I'm going to try to, when I'm traveling next and able to go into secondhand bookstores, I'm going to see if I can find this second volume with the manga paper so that all of my volumes can match. But I really love this series. It's a really wholesome isekai series that follows a woman who is transported to another world. And in that world, she has a book cafe and just has the ideal situation and circumstances to just enjoy her life and read and cook and have a little library cafe underneath her lodging up above. There are little bits of action, but all of the conflict that comes up is resolved really quickly. There's a really sweet and wholesome romance throughout, with not very much drama or conflict. So it's a really easygoing read, very wholesome, and a very feel-good story. This next series is another Japanese series that doesn't have an English print release. I'm really hoping it will get one because I really like it. It is completed at 3 volumes, and it's called Sesame Salt and Pudding. But it follows a girl in her early 20s and her relationship and cohabitation with a man much older than her. I can't remember if he's in his late 30s or even early 40s, but I do really like this series. It has a lot of really funny parts, and I really enjoy the pairing, even though it is an age gap romance. I love that the girl is a strong female lead. She is very driven and working really hard to pursue her career, but really hoping this one will get an English release so I can read it from the physical volumes. And then at the top of this pile, We Can't Do Just Plain Love. I have volumes 1 and 2. Volume 3 is going to be released soon. I'm really excited to get that next volume. This one is a spicy josei series. It's in a workplace setting, and it follows a man who has a lot of trouble interacting with women because of his physical reactions, and then a woman who has a bit of a smell fetish and immediately upon meeting him is really interested in his smell. So it does have some really funny sections, a lot of really spicy scenes, but then the content that is not in the bedroom is enjoyable content as well. But from what I know, it is still an ongoing series, so after volume 3, I believe it will still continue. Next is A Business Proposal. This one is completed. I can't remember off the top of my head how many volumes it's going to be, but I believe 10 volumes. So volume 4 just released this week, I think, so my copy is on the way. So looking forward to getting more of this series. I love the way the spines look because they're just so colorful. But this is a workplace romance manhwa series that follows a girl who goes for her friend to a marriage meeting, pretending to be her so that she can turn down the person and her friend can be free to find her own partner. But then when she goes to the marriage meeting, it is actually the CEO of her company who she meets there, and this series is just really funny. I really love the art style. The male lead in this series is really good looking, and the girl is really sweet, really cute, really funny. There are some sections that are just kind of absurd, and it's just like, what is she thinking? But it's a really fun story, and the ending is really satisfying as well. So since I've started collecting the physicals, I haven't actually read through it because I did read it online. So I'm waiting for more volumes to arrive before I just can do a binge read through the series. The next series here is volumes 1 to 8 of Life Lessons with Uramichi Onisan. In English, we have 4 omnibus volumes, and this one is ongoing. I believe volume 9 has already been released in Japan, so we'll have to wait for volume 10 to be released so that we can get the 5th omnibus volume. But this is not a romance series, it's just a slice of life that is very funny. It's a josei comedy series that follows a man who is very dissatisfied with his life, really disappointed with how things have turned out. But for work, he is the fitness instructor on a children's television show. And so despite his bleak outlook on life, he has a very perky and happy and fun personality when he's in work mode. But then when he's not in work mode, he's extremely negative. But I really love this series. I find it really funny. It has an anime adaptation, and I haven't watched it yet, but I am planning on getting to it eventually. But I really love the art style. I really love the dark humor. And I find the entire series just really relatable. So looking forward to the next releases of this series. Here at the bottom of the stack, I have Haru's Curse, which is a 2-volume omnibus. It's a josei drama romance series, and I really, really like it. It has a bit of a taboo relationship in it, as it follows a woman who is entering into a relationship with her late sister's ex-fiancé. But I really love how their relationship develops and some of the reveals as the story goes. There's a big twist halfway through the story, and every time I read this series, I cry, even though I know what happens and how it ends. But I really like this series. I'm always recommending it. And it's a pretty quick read too, as it is just one omnibus volume. So moving on, the next series, and this illustration here, this official art, is from the series A Sign of Affection, which is a university romance series. I have volumes 1 to 7. It is an ongoing series, but it follows 2 university students, a young man who loves to travel and has learned many different languages, and a girl who is deaf. And so after they have their first encounter in volume 1, he becomes very curious about her and what her life is like, and takes an interest in sign language. So I am behind on this one. I haven't read the latest volume yet, so really looking forward to how this series continues. The art is so pretty, just a really dreamy art style, and their romance is really sweet. So I'm looking forward to continuing my read of that one. Next, I have volumes 1 to 5 of Play It Cool Guys. I just recently got volume 5, so I haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited to read it. I just recently watched the anime adaptation and really loved it, so excited for that new content. But this is a slice of life series that follows 5 different guys that are all very different, that are all really clumsy, and it's just really sweet and funny to see how each one reacts when they do little embarrassing things. When I started this one, I thought it was going to just be very episodic, but as the story has gone on, all of these guys have met each other and they're starting to form this friend group that is just really wholesome. One of the guys is a high schooler, 2 of them are university students, and then 2 of them are working adults. So it's quite a mix of characters and personalities, and I love it. The next one right here, this little booklet, is an illustration booklet that was included with a special edition volume of Life Lessons with Uramichi Onisan. And then this last one here is an illustration book by the mangaka Ma2 that is all about men's fashion. It is a bit of a guidebook, as there is Japanese text discussing the different outfits, but then their drawings are on every page. So this is the same mangaka that did, on a different shelf, the Salaryman art book. But I really love their art style and character design, so of course I had to get it as soon as I saw men's fashion. Okay, moving across to the next shelf. So this next shelf is entirely Wotakoi Love is Hard for Otaku. I will show above it on the top of the bookcase, I do have, I don't think I shared this box with Sanji on it. This is the box that my resin statue came in, and it just had this gorgeous illustration of Sanji, so I just had to keep that. And then on this bookcase is these acrylic plates from the series A3. When I first got these in Japan and then I came back, I kind of regretted getting them because I didn't know how I was going to be able to display them, because I didn't really have room on my shelves. So I was really pleased when I tried putting them at the top of the bookcase that they tilted down and that they fit perfectly across the length of the bookshelf, as there are 4 of them and they fit perfectly. But each of the 4 plates is the different theater troupes and all the members in those troupes. So highly recommend this anime series A3. Okay, so I scooted back a little bit just so that I could show my enamel pins. These are fan-made enamel pins, and the 4 of them are from the same pin maker. They're the same art style, as you can see. And then this one of Narumi, I have one of Hanako coming that I'm going to be putting up on display as well. So Wotakoi is my favorite manga series. I love it so much. I really love the male lead, Hirotaka, and then my number 1 and number 2 favorite female characters in manga are Narumi and then the other female lead, Hanako. I just really love all the characters in this series, and I love the romance between the main characters as well as the secondary coupling in this series. And just their friend group is so fun. I really wish that I could just transport myself into this world and be friends with them. But if you haven't read this series, you probably still recognize this main female character, this main female lead, Narumi, because my profile picture is of her, because I love her and I love this series so much. But like I said, this series has a friend group in it that are all otaku. They each have different otaku hobbies. One is really interested in gaming. One loves reading manga and writes her own doujinshi. Another is really into cosplay and BL. And then the other hides his otaku hobbies because of the negative connotation around otaku, but still really enjoys his favorite demographic of manga. But the series has an anime adaptation. I highly recommend this series, whether you watch it or read it. It is so good. I love it so much. This is a completed 11-volume series. In English, we had 2-in-1 volumes, so volumes 1 to 5 are 2-in-1 omnibuses, and then volume 6 was a skinny single that in North America had several different retailer variant cover releases, so I do have 3 separate volume 6s in English. I say volume 6, but it's volume 11 because it's the final volume. And then on this side over here, I have the 11 volumes in Japanese. I really wanted to be able to have all of the different covers because since in English we got the omnibus volumes, we only got 5 of the 10 covers. So I really wanted to be able to get the Japanese singles so that I could have those individual covers. This one right here is my favorite regular manga cover, and we didn't get this one in English, so I'm glad that I have this one in Japanese. And then this is my favorite cover from the English release, and it's a variant cover from the Barnes & Noble release. And then these 3 boxes over here are the 3 Blu-ray box sets from the OVA releases of the anime. What's really special about these 3 is that each one of them came with a disc of the OVA, but then also each of them came with a variant cover of the Japanese manga. So volume 7, volume 10, and volume 11 of the Japanese manga each have variant covers. So 2 of those variant covers we don't have in English, one of Now and Ko, and then one of Kabakura and Hanako. And then volume 11 has a variant cover that we got in English from the Kinokuniya volume 6 release. But I really love this series, highly recommend it. And then moving over to this last upper shelf. Oh, and I forgot to mention on this shelf, I have those A3 acrylic plates. And then up here, I have this A3 poster of 2 of the characters, one from the Spring Troop and one from the Autumn Troop. Okay, so onto this shelf with 2 Josei series. So 2 series I really love. Something's Wrong with Us, which, while being a modern day set series, it has a lot of traditional Japanese vibes because the main characters are wagashi makers. This series is full of drama. It's a romance series that follows these 2, while through the series there is a big mystery that they're trying to solve. There is some revenge content, but I really love this series. The main story is 16 volumes, and then there are 3 additional side story volumes, 17, 18, and 19. And I don't have 19 yet. I'm really excited. It's going to be released soon. Actually, I think it just released this week, so my copy is on the way. And then this booklet here is a special illustration booklet that came with the volume 16 special edition release in Japan. And then over here is Perfect World. It's complete at 12 volumes. And I really love this one. It follows 2 people in their mid-20s who re-encounter in the workplace after being friends in high school. And since then, the male lead has been confined to a wheelchair after being in an accident that damaged his spinal cord. But it too has a lot of drama as it follows their relationship and the different issues that come up with the challenges he faces on a daily basis. But I really love this series. I also got the volume 12 collector's edition in French so that I could have this variant cover. And I'm really looking forward to this mangaka has another series that's going to be releasing, I'm not sure in 2024 or 2025, so I still need to look into that one. All right, moving down to my next 2 shelves. Okay, so I zoomed out a bit so that these 2 shelves could be seen together, but both of these shelves have one series, Love of Kill. This is one of my favorite series. And it has the character in it who is my favorite anime manga character, Rangha. As you can see, I am a bit obsessed with this series. So this series is complete at 14 volumes, so volumes 1 to 13 are the main story, and volume 14 is the side stories. I'm really hoping that Yen Press will give us an English print release of volume 14, but I don't know if they will, so I have ordered the volume 14 in Japanese. But this is a josei action series that follows an assassin and a bounty hunter. Initially, as he enjoys teasing her and interfering with her cases, but as the series goes, seeing both of their backstories and kind of the different trauma that they've each gone through, and seeing how they then bond as adults and have to work together to achieve some of the goals that they have. But I just love this series so much. Highly recommend it. It does have some violent content though, so be forewarned. But all of that content is shown right away in volume 1, so if you can get through the first chapter just fine, then you should be fine through the rest of the series. But so what I have in my collection, I have the manga volumes, I have a ton of official art prints, I have the issues of Comic Gene, which is the magazine that this series was serialized in, all of the issues that have Love of Kill on the front cover. And then I also have over here the art book and the art booklet release, Rangha's Nendoroid, some of the different acrylic standee releases, the acrylic plate release from the anime. Over here I have the DVD box sets, some acrylic charms. One of the items that is really special is over here, this framed print was an S prize that I won during my first Kuji online lottery that I participated in. I really wish it was autographed, but I'm just happy that I won a prize. But I really love this series. I'm always gushing about it. So I hope that if you haven't read it or watched it, that maybe you'll think about giving it a try. But I'm so excited to read the volume 14 side stories and just really looking forward to that. Okay, moving down. I have a couple shelves that I view as like crime shelves. So some of the content for series is spread between these different shelves. But starting on this shelf over here, I have some of those crime series. So right here, this seinen series, Yakuza Fiancé Raisei wa Tanagai. I have volumes 1 to 6. This is an ongoing series that follows 2 grandchildren of Yakuza heads that their grandfathers are trying to arrange to be married to each other. This one has a lot of kind of bizarre behavior and bits of violence, but it is just such a fun series. I really love the female lead in it. She is a really strong-willed character, and I really appreciate that about her. And I'm really excited to get the next releases. I have volume 6 propped up over here, but I have read ahead, so I am really looking forward to the content in volumes 7 and 8. Next, there in the back, these 2 Chinese volumes of manhwa, as well as this print here in the front, is from the series The Wolf That Picked Something Up. This is a digital read that I really enjoyed, following a group of gangsters. The head of the group in the beginning of the series is injured and has to take a step back, and during that time he finds a little boy who's been abandoned, and despite his really rough demeanor, he starts to look after this sweet little boy. But it's really cute, really wholesome, while also having gangster characters. I really love content like that. But this one is ongoing, so I have the first 2 volumes, and then I'm really hoping this series will get an English release. There have been more and more manhwa series getting licensed in English, so I really hope this one will as well. Next, I have some Bungo Stray Dogs on this shelf. I have some on the next shelf over too, but the ones I have on this shelf, I have a few of the novel collections. And these aren't the Bungo Stray Dogs light novels. These are collections of the characters' real pieces of literature. So for example, this character is Fukuzawa, who is based on a real writer, Yukichi Fukuzawa. So this book contains snippets of his work. So they are in Japanese, but I really wanted them for the cover illustrations. But then I do hope one day to go through with my translator app when I'm curious enough and motivated to look through some of these. I am currently reading the light novels for Bungo Stray Dogs, and once I finish those, I probably am going to go through and look up some of the pieces of literature that my favorite characters, their literary counterparts, actually have written, and try to look into some of those. But, I forgot to mention, for Yakuza Fiancé, I do have a special edition booklet. But then for Bungo Stray Dogs, on this shelf, I have 2 mini standees of Mori and Fukuzawa. And then up above, I have 2 standees of Fukuzawa and Fukichi. In the back, I have fan art of Dazai. And then over here, a fan art of Fukichi, Fukuzawa, and Mori. And then I also, right here, have this official art of young Yoshino from Yakuza Fiancé. And then the last series on this shelf is Do Ra Ra Ra. I have all of the manga that's out so far, so volumes 1 to 4 of the main story, the 3 volumes of the Psyche arc, the 3 volumes of the Yellow Scarves arc, and then volumes 1 to 8 of the $3 arc, which is the arc that is ongoing right now. I really love this anime, and I just recently did a full read-through of this whole series and really enjoyed it. I did also find out toward the end of my read-through that Celty had a Nendoroid, so I immediately had to hunt down a secondhand listing because I really like her character in this series. So moving across to the other shelf that has some crime series. Okay, so on this shelf I have a few different series represented. So on the last shelf I had some Bunga Stray Dogs, so on this shelf I also have a little more Bunga Stray Dogs. So the other shelf had 3 of the novel collections, and I have 2 on this shelf, as well as 2 more mini standees, this time of Oda and Dazai. I have a couple more standees that I got earlier this week that I'm really excited to add to these 2 shelves, so I will be sharing those in an upcoming video. And then in addition to the literature collections and the standees, I also have these 2 Bunga Stray Dogs books. One is an art book of the art style in the manga, and then a guidebook that has a little kind of character guide of each of the characters and their real life counterparts, who they're named after. So really happy that I was able to find these 2 books. And then back behind, I have Tokyo Revengers. I have all the English releases, the first 9 omnibus volumes, so volumes 1 to 18. Tokyo Revengers is completed already in Japan at 31 volumes, but the English release is ongoing. Tucked in the back there are 3 of my Tokyo Revengers Nendoroids, so Mitsuya, Dureken, and Chifuyu. And then over here I have Mikey and then their motorcycles. I really love Tokyo Revengers. It's a shonen action series with supernatural elements. It follows middle-aged and high school-aged boys that are part of gangs as they have conflicts with each other, and the running theme throughout the series of an older character who has traveled back in time to infiltrate this gang to be able to prevent the death of a loved one. So I'm really happy that this series got an English release, and Seven Seas has done a fantastic job with this release. Each of the omnibus volumes have just been fantastic as far as quality, but then the release schedule has been really consistent, and I really appreciate that. Over on this side of the shelf, I have 2 volumes of Firefly Wedding. I love this series. It's been an obsession of mine lately. It's a historical josei series that follows a kidnapped girl who is under the protection of an assassin who originally was part of the group that kidnapped her. It has a lot of sections that are really funny, but it is pretty dark and has a lot of violence in it. The assassin has this katana that he uses quite a bit. And as the series has gone on, there have been some romantic developments that I love. I love them so much. I really love the assassin character. He does remind me of Rangha, and I think that that has an impact on me just really liking him, but he does have a bit of an obsession with the female lead and yandere characteristics, so he is quite dubious, but I love it. I'm really enjoying this story. So it doesn't have an English print release yet, but it does have a digital license in English on Comic-e. But I do have volume 3 on the way in Japanese, and I just really hope that this one will get picked up for an English release. And then over on this wall over here, I do have a few Toji fan art prints. I do have a ton of Toji on the next shelf down that we're about to go down to, but I just have too many Toji prints and I want all of them displayed because I love looking at them. And I thought it was okay to have him on this shelf because he is an assassin in JJK, so he fits. He fits on the shelf. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, back behind here are a bunch of Japanese, not volumes of Tokyo Revengers, but extras. So I have 2 of the TV anime guidebooks, the 4 character books, as well as 2 of the spin-off collections. that are in full color. Really, really hoping that Seven Seas will consider translating some of those extras for us for print release. I would love to have the character books in English because there's a lot of text, and I love every bit of just the extra information of the characters, like their hobbies, their favorite foods, details about them. I love stuff like that. But gonna go ahead and move down now to my JJK shelf. Okay, so this is my JJK shelf, and honestly, it's more of just a Toji shrine than anything. I don't own any of the manga for JJK, but what I do have in book form over here is the 3 keyframe art books. So for the Zero movie and the volumes 1 and 2 of season 1. I'm really hoping that season 2 will get a 2-book release of keyframes. And while the inside of the books are like literally keyframes from the anime, I really, really love the front and back cover illustrations. So in addition to these 3 books, I also have the official TV anime guidebook. I have a couple doujinshi. Well, more than a couple. I have quite a bit of fan books for the series, as well as fan art collections. I just realized it's out of frame a little bit, but down here I have a little chibi microfiber towel that I got at Animate when I was in Japan. But then in addition to these books, I have a ton of fan art prints of Toji, as well as Gojo, and then on this side I have some Nanami prints. And I also have a bit of a pin collection of Toji, so I have all of these ones I've been sharing in my haul videos as I get my pin mail in. But I just love how there's such a mix of like Toji looking handsome, him looking intimidating, and then just him as a cute little tiny chibi. But I'm really proud of this frame, this corkboard frame that I made, because it was a little bit of a DIY project that I worked on. But so even though I don't own the manga for this series, I have read all of it up to the current chapter. I have watched the Zero movie and season 1 of the anime. I started season 2, but I have not been in a rush to get through it because I know I'm going to cry so much. I'm going to just love all the Toji content, so I'm really looking forward to watching it, but there are so many sad things that happen in the content in season 2 during the Shibuya arc, so I'm like dreading watching it because I'm just going to be crying through episodes and episodes, but I'll get to it. And honestly, as far as the manga goes, I've been just reading it on the Shonen Jump app, and I still haven't decided if I'm going to collect the physicals because I have to wait and see how it ends, because if I don't like the ending, I'm not going to buy it and I'm just going to enjoy all the fan art and the art books and the fan books. But we'll see how it goes. But if you don't know anything about this series, it's a shonen action series that follows students at a special high school as well as their mentors and instructors who all have special abilities and are the ones that are tasked to protect the regular humans from the curses that come and are trying to just cause chaos. But I really enjoy this series, and this is actually one that I like the anime more than the manga. But that being said, I do read the manga every week, and I'm really eager to see where the story goes from where it's at right now. Now moving down to my bottom shelf here. Okay, so down here I have my 2 Nendoroids for JJK, so Gojo and Nanami, and I do have Toji's Nendoroid pre-ordered. I'm so excited for it to come. He's going to be so cute, this fierce man, just like as a cute little chibi. I also have a resin statue of Toji that is on the way, so I'll be looking forward to sharing that in future videos. But on this shelf, I have a few other series. So starting on this side over here, these first 2 books are the anime art books for Bungo Stray Dogs. So I do, up above, have the manga art book, and then these 2 are the anime art books. Then next I have Attack on Titan. So this book right here is the anime art book, or the anime illustration book. And then these books over on this side are some of the extras as well. So the TV anime guidebook, 2 more of the anime art books, and then the hardcover 2-in-1 omnibus for No Regrets right here, and then volume 22 of Attack on Titan, the Japanese volume, because that's my favorite cover, is volume 22. And I really wanted to have a physical of it because I don't have that cover since I have the colossal editions. And I decided to get it in Japanese instead of English because I don't like the brown spines on the English singles, but the Japanese singles are black on the spine, so I got that one for the cover illustration. But then the volumes 1 to 34 collected into 7 omnibus volumes. I do really like the colossal editions. I love that each of the colossal edition omnibus volumes has a unique cover illustration that isn't on the regular single volumes. I really like the paper quality and print quality on them as well. And even though they're like bright orange, I prefer the coloring of the spines over the brown singles. And then you can't really see them, and I can't move my tripod down anymore, but up here I have Eren and Mikasa, the Nendoroids, and then Erwin and Levi's Nendoroids. This sweet little trio as kids from one of the official illustrations from the anime. And then a fan art of Eren, modern day AU. And then up here as well, I have fan art prints of Eren and Mikasa. On this wall here too, I have a few more fan art prints, but you have to be at a certain angle to see them. And then moving over to this side, I almost forgot, I also have the Attack on Titan character encyclopedia. So moving across to this side, I have right here a booklet from Tokyo Aliens. I don't have that series in my physical collection. I have read it digitally. And I didn't want to collect it until I could read more of the series because I still am not sure if it's one that I want to collect or not. But then the other series I have over here, Kaiju number 8, volumes 1 to 9. This is an ongoing series. I really love this series. Since I started collecting the physical volumes, I haven't gone back and read it from my volumes yet because I read all of this on the Shonen Jump app before I decided to collect it. And the Shonen Jump app is like into volume 12 right now, so I've just been keeping caught up on the Shonen Jump app. But I love the story still. It's just going strong. So I'm really excited. When I do plan to do a reread, I'm going to start with volume 1 and just do a full reread. And then over here on the side is Vash from Trigun Stampede. I haven't read any of that series, but I did watch the anime and enjoyed it. I really like his character, and this fan art print was gifted to me, and it's just gorgeous. I love his pose in it, and I'm really happy to have it, and he just is living here on my action shelf. And then the fan art print underneath is of Jinwoo from Solo Leveling, and I have volumes 1 to 8 of this manhwa series, and I really liked it. I, at the end of last year, read all of it online and loved it. I really just enjoyed it. It is completed, but the English release is ongoing as it's at volume 8, and I think it's going to be around maybe 14 volumes. So I'm just gradually collecting them now as they release, and then once I have either a bigger chunk of them or I might wait until the release has completed, then I'll go through and do a full read through. Okay, so before I go back up to the top of the shelf to go through all of my sports series, I'm gonna move over here and go through all of my BL manga and manhwa. Okay, so I have this shelf and the one above of all of the BL volumes and art books that I have so far in my collection, and guidebooks and booklets. Along the back here is just a bunch of Japanese manga that I bought when I was in Japan, as well as when I got back, I threw miscellaneous volumes here and there into my proxy orders. But these are all series that I do quite enjoy, and then series that I either just really like the art style or really like the mangaka of the series. So this section right here is just one mangaka's works. Every one of them are just one-shots, but I love her character designs so much, so I just have the goal to collect all of her one-shots. These volumes here are from the series Blue Sky Complex, and it's one that I'm hoping will get an English release. as it is a longer series and it is ongoing, but I did want to collect all of these physicals because they were all special editions with variant covers. So I managed to pick all of those up when I was in Japan. And I'm not going to go through all of the Japanese ones and go through the titles because, one, I don't remember what all of the titles are offhand without looking them up, and two, I don't want to have to pull them out right now. But I will link a video to my manga haul when I got back from my Japan trip where I go through almost all of these volumes, and I have all of the titles written on the screen as I go through. So feel free to check out that video if you want to see the Japanese volumes that I have in my collection. But then for the English manga that I have, I'll go ahead and start over here because the back is entirely Japanese manga until this point. I have The Two Lions, which is a university romance series. I have Our Dining Table, which is a really soft romance that follows a salaryman and a family of three that befriend him and they bond over cooking with. The next one over here is Lynx, which is a one-shot by the mangaka that did Given, and it follows 4 different couples, so 8 characters total, all crammed into this one-shot, but somehow it works. I wish it had been a 2-volume series so that the characters could get a little more development, but I did enjoy the story and I liked the characters. And these 3 volumes are not rated explicit. I will try to remember to say when I go through which ones are 18 plus and which ones are not. So the next one is an 18 plus title, Midnight Rain, and this one is another one shot that follows 2 guys that are both in kind of bad situations because of debts and because of just people that are after them. So it was a fun read though. I do like series that have crime elements, and this one kind of did as well. The merch I have along the top, I'll go through. So this right here is a 2023 calendar of prints, and this is the 2024 calendar, both from the series Blue Sky Complex. Over here, I have a little acrylic charm from the series High Clear. Then I have a couple character Polaroids, a couple character plushies, and then an acrylic standee from the series Here You Are. Down on this side, I have 2 manhwa series on or off volumes 1 to 4. This series is complete, but we're missing volume 5, and I think once we have volume 5, the series will be complete. Dangerous Convenience Store. This one is also complete, but the English release is ongoing. Volume 2 just released last week, I think, so mine is on the way. And then I have 2 guidebooks on the side here, and then 1, 2, 3 more guidebooks, and then 2 doujinshi anthologies. Just like my Japanese manga, I went through all of it in my Japan manga haul video. All of these guidebooks and then the art books up above, I went through in my Japan art book guidebook haul video. So if you want more information on these, that's where you'll find that. And then these next volumes, my summer review, volumes 1 to 3. I think it's complete, but I'm not sure. This one follows in volume 1, 2 high schoolers, and then volume 2, they get into university, and then volume 3, I think, continues to follow them in university. I need to do a reread of this series before I get into volume 3, which I have not read yet. Next is I Didn't Mean to Fall in Love, which is a one-shot, but the sequel volume was just released in Japan, so I'm hoping that 7 Seas will give us that in print form as well. Next is these 2 volumes, Restart After Coming Back Home, Restart After Growing Hungry, which follows 2 adult characters. These next several volumes have different titles, but they're all part of the same universe, so Sayonara Game, Change World 1 and 2, Love Nest 1 and 2, and then Love Nest Second 1, and then 2 completes this series, but there is an ongoing spin-off following Love Nest Second called Engage that is ongoing, so curious how long that's going to wind up being. But next I have this trilogy, Escape Journey, that follows 2 university students. Then this one-shot, No Touching at All, which is a workplace romance. I forgot to mention all of these are 18 plus, 18 plus, 18 plus. I think this one too, 18 plus. So just if you want to check out any of these series, make sure to check the ratings before you get into them. And then this last one here, Anti-Romance Volumes 1 and 2, this is completed, and I'm really looking forward to reading these. And both of these books are pretty nice. Each one has extra content in the back with color illustrations. And then over here, I have a bunch of booklets that were all included with the special edition releases of these volumes of Blue Sky Complex. And then moving up. Okay, so along the back here, I have a poster and a clear file from the series Given. I was able to go to the pop-up shop when I was in Japan, and it was some of the merch that I picked up. And then I have a character Polaroid, and then some manga. So for the manga, starting from this side, Secret XXX, Therapy Game Volumes 1 and 2, Therapy Game Restart Volumes 1 and 2. So those are all part of the same universe. I did just get Therapy Game Restart Volume 3, and Volume 4 is going to be released soon. I'm not sure how long the series is going to be, but I do enjoy that one. Therapy Game as well as Secret XXX follows two couples that are all working adults. One of them is a university student who is working to become a vet, but then as the story goes, he is transitioning into the workplace as well. Next, by the same mangaka, is the series The Dragon's Betrothed, Volumes 1 and 2. So this one is ongoing as well. I don't believe that it has been serializing though. I think it's been on hiatus as the mangaka has been working on Therapy Game, so we'll see. Next is Volumes 1 to 4 of Coyote, which is a supernatural series that follows the romance between a human and a werewolf. And it does have really strong Romeo and Juliet vibes, but I really like the two main characters in it. Okay, next, Volumes 1 to 8 of the series Given. This one is completed in Japan, and we're just waiting on Volume 9 in English, and then it will be completed as well. Given is a series that follows 4 main guys, 2 of them in high school and 2 of them in university, and the 4 of them are in a band together. And then 10 Count, which follows an office worker and a therapist, as one of the characters has OCD and is through the series trying to overcome the challenges that it causes him. Over here I have this AU art from Smyrna and Capri, which is a series that right now only has a digital release in English. But despite how they're dressed in this illustration, it is a historical series where they're typically wearing like royalty historical garb. But then continuing across, the rest of these are art books, except for this first one here. This yellow book is the 10-year anniversary fan book for Blue Sky Complex. And then these following several colored books are all art book fan books, self-published by the mangaka, starting with Volume 2 through Volume 8. And Volume 9 was announced recently for an upcoming release, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then these larger art books, first is this one here by the mangaka that did Seaside Stranger. Then the next one, Mirror, which is by the mangaka that did 10 Count. Darling, which is by the mangaka that did Therapy Game and Secret XXX and The Dragon's Betrothed. The next 2 are both Given art books. One is the regular illustration book, and then the next one is the monochrome edition. And then the next 2 books are 2 of the doujinshi for Blue Sky Complex called Indigo Blue Graduation. So I don't remember if I mentioned down below, part of my Japanese volumes included their 2 doujinshi anthologies. So some of their DJs have been collected into anthologies, and these are the next 2 after the second anthology. So I'm hoping that once they have a few of these released, that they'll collect them together into their 3rd anthology. Next is a fan book by the mangaka that did Candy Color Paradox. And then this next art book is Cherish, which is by the mangaka that did Sayonara Game, Change World, Love Nest, Engage. So it has illustrations from all of those titles. Next is this art book Ideal, which has some of the different illustrations from the works of a mangaka that I have not read any of their series. But I did link my art book haul earlier in the video from my Japan BL art books. So if you want to see more about this one, that's where you can find that. Then this next art book, Candy, and this is art from Sasaki and Miyano. And then this last one here, I forget what the title of it is, but it has art from the mangaka that did Escape Journey, YBC, Daisy Jealousy. So just some of the art from their different works. But I just kind of breezed through all of these 2 shelves because I just had so many smaller series and one-shot volumes and just different guidebooks and art books. But feel free to leave a comment if you need any more information about any of these specific series or art books or extras or whatever. But gonna head up now to my sports section. Okay, so I have 2 series that are my sports series, and this first one is entirely haiku. So up around the top, I have fan art, as well as on this side, I have a Asakusa official foil print. And then on the other side, I have one of Atsumu as well. Right here, front and center, I have 2 of the official A4 poster releases of the Black Jackals and the Adlers. I'm so happy I was able to get these. I love these illustrations so much, and the last couple volumes that feature these teams is some of my favorite content in the whole series. And then here in the front, I have these fan-made enamel pins of, again, the Jackals and then the Adlers. And then Omi is my favorite character, so I have 2 of his chibi pins, as well as you can probably tell, a bunch of fan art of him. And then a little Atsumu plush over here. And then this side of the wall has more Atsumu fan art. Some Team Japan fan art as well. And unfortunately on this shelf, with the width of this shelf, I only have room for 40 volumes, and Haikyuu is a 45 volume series completed. So I do have the rest of the volumes on the shelf above, along with a few other sports series. So over here I have volumes 41 to 45, so I do have all of the series Haikyuu. I forgot to mention down below when we were on this shelf, it's a series about volleyball, and it follows students from different high schools that are on volleyball teams as they all train together and form friendships and rivalries up through graduation, and then a time skip to future content of the characters as adults. So I love it. It's my favorite anime series, but then even the manga, I really love the manga as well. And then moving across, I have 3 of the guidebooks from the anime, as well as one of the smaller art books. When I get down to my art book section, I do have a few more Haikyuu art books. But then moving across, these 2 books on display, as well as all of the volumes in between, are from the series Aoashi, which is a series about soccer. And it follows high school age boys that all go to a soccer academy with the aim of becoming pro soccer players. And this is my favorite character. This is him in his backstory content of the series, but he is the head coach of the adult team of the soccer club. But I really love this series. All of these volumes are in Japanese because the series does not have an English release yet, but it is a big favorite of mine. I've been reading the fan translations, and I highly, highly recommend the anime. It's only 1 season, but I just really love it. It was adapted really well from the series. Really hoping it will get renewed for a season 2, just because I really want more anime content, and there are some gaps in my collection. I'm just gradually trying to collect this whole series in Japanese. It is ongoing with volume 35 coming out soon in Japan, and I really love it and highly recommend it. And then over on this side, I have 3 more series. So Blue Lock, I have volume 16. This isn't a series that I'm collecting in English or just even really at all. I just collected volume 16 because it has my favorite character on it. I am not current on the manga. I've read through to about volume 22 maybe, or maybe 23. And I'm not sure if I'm going to continue reading it. There have been sections that I really like in the series, but then a lot of sections that I just really don't like how the story is written and the way that the characters act. So I'm probably not going to pick it back up for at least a while, and then if I do pick it back up, I will just binge through from where I left off until what is out and available. So for now, I have volume 16 of Blue Lock, and he's my favorite character. And then next, I have the art book for Kuroko's Basketball. I love the anime for that series, and I haven't read the manga yet, but I intend to. So I'd like to read the manga soon for Kuroko's Basketball. And for now, the only thing in my collection for it is this art book. And then the last sports series on this shelf is Dance Dance Dancer, which is a series about ballet. I'm not planning on collecting this one in full in Japanese. I just wanted volumes 1 and 18 because they were my favorite covers. But I really liked this anime series, and I have read, I think, into volume 8 or volume 9. But what I read was just what was available in English so far. But I haven't gone back and checked in a while if there's more available now to read in English. But it is a series that I really like that follows a high school boy as he starts to pursue ballet more seriously. It starts out with him as a child, and then later in middle school, and then in high school. But it's all about his life journey of accepting the fact that he loves a sport that is considered by many to be for girls and not manly. But the main character is a really fun character, and I just, from what I've read and what I've watched so far of the series, I do really like it. Okay, and then moving over to my last shelf. So this last almost entire bookcase is One Piece. This is probably the biggest addition to my collection since my last full collection tour last year, before I had read One Piece. But I read all of One Piece last April and just got sucked in, really loved the story, fell in love with Sanji, and now I have collected all of the manga as well as tons and tons and tons of merch. So Sanji is my favorite character, as you will see as I pan down on this bookcase, but I also really love Rayleigh. I really like Shanks. They're some of my favorite characters. Also a big fan of Crocodile. I did read the entire series on the Shonen Jump app, and afterwards decided I wanted to own the physical volumes, so I did buy box sets 1 to 4, which went through volume 90. And then from there, I collected the singles of the rest of the volumes through to 104. So currently in English, we have through volume 104, and it is an ongoing series. Volume 108 is going to be released soon in Japan. I am current on the latest chapters of the manga. I do read it weekly on the Shonen Jump app, but I just really love this series. It's so fun, so many likable characters, parts that are really funny, but also parts that are really tragic. I cry so much whenever I read this series, but then I also will just be laughing from parts that I find funny. I'll gradually go down and show each of the shelves. So that top shelf had just some of my favorite characters, fan art, as well as volumes 1 to 35. This shelf doesn't have any manga and is just dedicated to Sanji, his pins, my resin statue. I love this statue. It's my favorite figure in my whole collection. And I have both sides just lined with fan art. This side has an ASL print, but then beneath it, and then on this side is all Sanji. For One Piece, I'm trying really hard not to collect any other characters for pins, only Sanji, because I just will run out of space and money trying to collect multiple characters. But over on this side, I have all of my larger size doujinshi and fan books. And then this yellow book is my trading card album. I'm not a completionist with One Piece trading cards. I just have predominantly Sanji cards and then just a handful of other trading cards for other characters. And I try to leave this section of my shelf open because this is where I put new pins that I get when they're just kind of waiting their turn to be put on the pin board, because this pin board isn't secured. It just kind of leans back here, so I can't put any pins in it when it's just sitting here. I have to pull it down every time I add pins to the board. But then also when I'm reading, sometimes I will put the volumes like my TBR right here, or if I have new fan art or fanzines or doujinshi that I'm looking through, this is my little staging area right here. And then moving down. Okay, so then on this shelf, I have more of my volumes continuing across here. So volumes 36 to 69. And then over here, I have all of the rest of my fan books that are the smaller size. So the larger ones don't fit on this shelf, so I have them up above. And then this little album right here for my overflow of fan art prints. This side I have fan art prints of Zoro, and on this side I have some of Sanji, as well as his film red figure. And then these smaller booklets that came with the box sets. And then this print right here in the center, I really love it. It was a charity print for Sanji's birthday last year in 2023. That was a collaboration between several different artists where all of the profit was donated to charity. So I was really happy that I was able to get a hold of this print because I found out about it months later, but then also that I was able to help with supporting a cause. And then moving down. Okay, so then on this shelf, the volumes continue from volume 70 to 104. There are quite a few pulled out right now because I'm in the middle of a reread. I just started the Wano arc, so I have a few volumes pulled out in the 90s. And then my husband is toward the end of the Wano arc with his read-through, so he has some volumes pulled out as well. But yeah, so like I said, I read the whole series on the Shonen Jump app last year, and then in the month of February, I planned a full read-through of the series, and I'm currently in volume 92, I think. And it's been so much fun to just be reading through my physical volumes. And one of the things I really love about having the singles in my physical collection, of course compared to just reading digitally, but then also compared to the 3-in-1 omnibus volumes, is that I love the colorful spines. Something that I really love in my collection is just the aesthetic appeal. And so I really love how pretty my One Piece shelves are because of the colorful volumes. So in addition to the manga on this shelf, I also have this fan art poster, another Sanji figure, an official coaster. Over here I have some fanzines. I changed some of the fan art on this side, so now I have up the little official print of all of the different Jolly Rogers. And then on this side, I have some of my Korra fan art. Korra is another one of my favorite characters, and I wanted to have a little section dedicated to him. That's been my journey with One Piece and collecting the series so far. I like Sanji so much, and it just has been a bit of an expense after getting all of the volumes to then just get so into collecting enamel pins, figures, fan books, doujinshi, fanzines, but I don't have any regrets. I'm really happy with everything that I have, and I just stare at my collection every day, so all of these little things have a lot of value to me. So moving down to the final shelf. Okay, so this final shelf does have a bit more One Piece, but then it has other art books and guidebooks and things as well. So I guess I'll just start here in the middle. Since I've been going through all my One Piece stuff, I have the 3 color walk compendiums. So in Japan, these were released as single color walks, but Viz has been releasing them as 3-in-1 omnibus compendiums. So this first one is the first 3 Japanese color walks, then 4 through 6, then 7 through 9. I don't remember where they're at right now in Japan, if they've released 10 through 12, but I'm really excited for when Viz announces the 4th color walk compendium because I'm definitely going to pick it up right away. I really love this art style. It's basically art and illustrations of the manga style, but then in color, which is my favorite art medium in One Piece is the color manga style, so the color walk style. Then my next favorite is the manga style. I do really like it. Then I have a couple more Sanji fan art prints, and then this yellow book here is Sanji's pirate recipes. So it is a cookbook, but it has a lot of little quotes and illustrations of the Straw Hats. And then apart from One Piece, I'll just start on the side and work my way across. So on this left side here is the art book for My Little Monster. It's really nice, hardcover with a really colorful dust jacket. I really love the art style and just really pretty illustrations in it. I got mine secondhand and it came from a smoker, so it did have quite an odor to it when I got it. And so even though I did spend a long time airing it out, it does still have a little bit of residual smell, so that is something that's been disappointing for me. But I am really happy to have it in my collection. Next, I have a few items from the series A3. So I have had some A3 stuff sprinkled through my collection as I've been going through. So I had the doujinshi, comic anthologies, the acrylic plates, and the poster. But over here, what I have is the anniversary books 1 through 6, as well as the Bees Log magazine issue that had 2 of my favorite characters on it. And then Gojo, just a little standee of him just keeping an eye on things on this art book shelf. Next, I have the anime guidebook for My Dress Up Darling. I know this one either already got or is getting an English release, and I haven't decided yet if we're going to replace our Japanese copy with an English copy. The next 2 books are Wotakoi Love is Hard for Otaku, the Japanese and the English art books. So I really like the Japanese one, and I was going to decide when I got the English one if I wanted to replace the Japanese one, and I was going to sell one of them and just keep one. But I really like both of them, so I decided to just keep both of them. I really love how the Japanese one is just the original design, but then in the English one, it has a bit of a more firm front and back cover, and it has a poster in it that I really, really like. Next is the Link Click art book that released recently toward the end of 2023. And it's really nice. I'm really happy I picked it up. Both the Link Click art book and then these next 2 Old John art books. I got all 3 of these from AliExpress because they were releases from China. So the Old John art books have a lot of content from 19 Days, as well as their other series, Maspaka Advertising Department, and just a lot of really edgy illustrations in those 2 books. Next is one of the art books for Violet Evergarden. I really need to do more research because I know there are several different Violet Evergarden books, and I would really like to get some more of them. I do like the anime quite a lot, and I'm very overdue for a rewatch of the series. And I've been requesting every month for the light novels to get licensed in English so that I can enjoy that content as well. The next 2 books here are hardcover art books by the mangaka that did Laughing Under the Clouds. And it's one of my most recent art book pickups, and I love them. I really loved Laughing Under the Clouds, but then these art books, I just really love their art style and just seeing my favorite characters just looking so beautiful, as well as the fact that their series are historical set, and then in the art books there are some AU illustrations, and I just love the little crossovers like that. Okay, and this next one here is a landscape illustration book by Makoto Shinkai. I really like their art style from the things that they've done for different anime movies, and I wanted to have this one in my collection as well. Skipping over these One Piece ones that I already talked about, I have a stretch of magazines, art books, and guidebooks for the series Free, which is an anime series that follows a group of high school students in a swim club through high school and then into university. So I have 2 of the illustration books, and then design works, so a keyframe book, another guidebook, then a fan book, another design works book, another illustration book. I really love this series, so I just will take all of the art books that I can get. Okay, a bit of a hard cut. I ran out of storage filming that last section, but I think I was talking about the Spoon 2DI magazine issues, so I just have 3 of them. I collected the ones that had cover illustrations for the final stroke. And even though the series has ended now, the anime series ended, I'm keeping an eye out for any additional art book releases that they might come out with. The next two are both guidebooks, one for Yuri on Ice and then one for Skate the Infinity. I was really glad to find these and add them to my collection because I didn't have anything else for these two series in my collection. And then these two thin books right here are both free, doujinshi. They're all ages, they're not explicit content, but just kind of some sweet content with Haru and Rin as they're a little older, reflecting back on the days of their childhood together. And then these two right here are both for Haikyuu, so the hardcover art book and then the Japanese anniversary book, which I'm not sure if it's considered a guidebook, but it's like partially a guidebook, partially an art book. I'm not sure if this one will get an English release down the road or not, but I'm just glad that I was able to get a copy of it. And then lastly is this little self-made photo book that a friend made and sent to me from the series Windbreaker. I really love this series about cycling, and it is ongoing, and I'm hoping with its popularity on Webtoon that it might get an English release in the future. But it's one of the sports series I've been enjoying a lot lately. So that wraps it up for my collection tour, my current state of what I have in my collection for manga, art books, extras, merch, things like that. Let me know in the comments if there are any series in my collection that you also have that you love, or based on what I have, if there are any series you think that I would like. Of course, everyone's collections are different, but I'm really happy right now with what I have in my collection so far. But again, I just really hope you enjoyed watching. Now that I'm on my 2-year mark on MangaTube, I really appreciate that I've gotten so much support from my subscribers, and I hope that you'll continue to enjoy my content as I am going to continue with the same type of videos, just a lot of manga and merch hauls, and then here and there some figure hauls and recommendation videos. Also, if you have any video recommendations of things you'd like to see, feel free to leave any messages in the comments with what you'd like to see. But thank you if you stuck around to the end. I feel like once this is all edited, it's going to be a pretty long video still. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video.